Hi folks, welcome back to Relab Live. This time I'm going to give you another tactical advice, a very practical one that we use all the time pretty much, and that's around how to quickly understand your website visitors. Now that's not just for you if you run a design business, a digital design business or a digital agency or whatever it is. If it involves redesigning a website or optimizing certain features in a website, it's always good to try and understand at the least who are the people that we're dealing with. So who are your users of the website? And we do a lot of this kind of work, but I'd like to share with you two of the very simple methods that we use a lot just to understand a website user pretty much. The two tools that we use a lot is Google Analytics. Obviously, if you're not familiar with Google Analytics, feel free to Google Analytics. There's a lot of information around that, and there's a lot of tutorials out there as well that's going to give you a basic overview of what the whole thing does. So it's a very powerful free tool by Google that you could use around trying to understand analytical data of your website. Now I'm going to show you a very specific section of it around users and demographics and just understanding what their behavior is like, or getting an estimation or some sort of a reading on what your users are like. The second tool is called Hotjar. It's a very popular tool as well, particularly around conversion rate optimization work, website optimization, digital design, or whatever it is that involves user experience. Now that's a heat mapping tool. It gives you user recordings as well based on IP addresses. I won't get into too much of the technical details. Similar to Google Analytics, there's heaps of tutorials out there around Hotjar. We'll give you links as well to their websites down here in the description box. But essentially, I'd like to show you how we use it here in Relab, particularly at the very, very early stages of a design process, and how I think it has helped us a lot, even explaining to the customers as well, and trying to get some buy-in from the customer and their stakeholders in terms of our understanding of their own users, if they don't have any user research already. So usually what we do is we combine these type of insights plus other additional ones that are available. Some bigger organizations may have done their own version of the user research. If there's anything out there that they can share with you prior to you starting a website project, that will be very, very valuable. So guys, without further ado, I'm gonna show you just some simple data around Google Analytics. Now, this is one of our customers. I hope, Leo, if you're watching this, you don't mind, but I'm gonna share some little insights on how we do a little bit about user research. The brand is called Radical Yes. If you don't know them, check them out. They're women's shoe, very, very hip and trendy. We'll share some links as well below. But essentially in this screen that we're looking at here, now, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of things that you have in Google Analytics, but I won't dive into all of them. I will particularly look at this audience section only and share with you some of the features within the tab. So overview will give you kind of, some basic understanding of what language has been set as the default language in the operating system that has the most users. So here we're looking at 58.80% of Australian English, followed by 22.88% of English US and English Great Britain. So by looking at this, we're already understanding that the majority of the user are English-speaking visitors. You can also get into the country. That kind of explains it, doesn't it? You've got Australia #1, United States, and New Zealand. But by far, Australia is the leading market for this particular business. And then you've got Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. What this does is it gives you an understanding, overview of where the locations are at, or the user locations are. You get to look at operating systems, Safari, Chrome, Safari in-app, which is a mobile version of it, etc. operating system. So again, guys, I won't go through each and every one of the details, but I think you get what I'm saying, right? So you get all of these insights. They're kind of a high-level overview of what they are. But you're slowly starting to understand who your customers are by looking at this. You've got some active users, all of this stuff. Just browse around yourself. And like I said, there are so many other tutorials out there that would dive deep into this, but I'll show you some other basic user behavior stuff that you could look at here. So that gives you an understanding of demographics. Now we see that 90% of the users are female, 9.8% are male, but that kind of explains it because Radical Yes is a female targeted brand. So you've got gender as well and age. Okay, I'll skip through some of these, but essentially we could go into interests. You can also understand and learn about your audience by understanding what types of category are they interested in the internet. So this says that lifestyle and hobbies, green living enthusiast, that's one of the top ones. Apparel and accessories, women's apparel, that's another top one, etc. Right? But looking at data like this will give you a lot of understanding. There's other stuff that we can look at, which is technology, for example. And mobile devices. So you get to understand how big of a chunk of a user do you have for mobile and desktop versus tablet. You can understand that the current market has got 43.20% Apple iPhone. On top of that, there's iPad, iPhone 7, 6S, 8, 8 Plus. So it kind of says that most of their customers are really on the iPhone device. This gives you the information when you're, say, creating an app or something like that. What type of operating system do you want to focus your effort in? And so on and so forth, right? I'm just going to go into another thing called user flow. In here, you'll be able to understand how user travels generally from the website, where they land, as well as what type of pages or categories or collections do they go into if it was an e-commerce website, and where they end up landing in. You can get into the details of that as well when you get to behavior. In behavior flow, you'll see a very similar thing to user flow. You can check out site content pages to try and understand which pages are performing better than the other. And yeah, so basically there's so many. If you just go through the tabs one by one, you'll get a lot of insights around how your customers are interacting with the different pages of your website. In terms of how do you get this data from your website, again, we'll share you some links around how to implement Google Analytics code or snippet into your websites, and there's so many good tutorials out there around them. I'm going to skip to the other part, which is Hotjar. This is what Hotjar looks like. Again, I'm going to use Radical Yes if you don't mind, Leo. I'm going to show you heat maps. So essentially Hotjar gives you a heat map, which is a reading around how users click through your website or certain pages, move around, and scroll through as well. So while it generates that, you see these little red dots, kind of like a heat map going on. That really exactly, that's literally what it is. So when you hover on it, when you set it to click, you hover on it, you see 55 clicks, you see where the hottest areas are in a website. And you get screenshots around the different size of screens as well, whether it's a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile device. Yeah, and you can switch it to scroll, so you get the scroll rates as well. You understand, so when it's red, it's hot, that's where most people are interacting. As you scroll down the page, you understand where customers where you lose users and visitors within the page. So that kind of gives you an idea where to focus on where you're doing a website design or when you're optimizing a certain page. So for example, if we look at this page here, that's a product page. We're able to see that viewers don't really see the reviews, or in fact, only 9.6% of people are looking at this carousel product suggestion. So next step action or recommendation that we may make is that we move this, if that's a high value thing for a customer, if that's a high value feature for the customer, then we would recommend to move that up on the page closer to, say, this section right here. So, you know, we make a lot of recommendations like that. Now, the heat maps, the free version of Hotjar will only map out a certain number of page views, and I think that's 1,000 page views is the free one. But when you sign up and you sign up for the paid version of it, you can map out more pages and more page views. That's another example of a product listing page, for example. There you go. So hopefully you get the idea of it. I'm just going to show you another feature, another cool feature in Hotjar, and it gives us so much insight when we're researching. If I can find an example. There you go. So these are user recordings. It's a bit freaky and creepy, I should say, because it kind of randomly picks up different IP addresses that where it will be recorded and presented in this view. So as an example, let's say I wanted to see how mobile users are interacting, or watch is probably the right word. If I wanted to watch how mobile users are interacting, I could just go, let's see here in the filter, from all devices I'd go to phones. I may even want to see just iOS phones, and the different browsers. Let's say I just want to see Safari users. Then I'd go into there and I'll see some of these recording. And let's say that's one that I'd like to watch. And you go play, and we'll load a recording of a particular interaction. Now I've sped this up. I've speed up the recording to 4 times, but essentially, so it's really fast. Because then if you go slow, then it's just going to be way too slow. But you see how people are interacting with the page. It gives you an idea of, it's a little bit of a creepy peek into what users are doing in the website. And it's very, very interesting. Okay, you can even skip through to where these little markers are. That's where most of the actions are happening. You see how people are interacting and whether they're actually using the right UI elements that it was designed to do. So yeah, that's awesome, isn't it? And whenever I show this to different customers, that always blows them away. So it's a good one to have. You can make some notes, etc. So yeah, there's a lot of value around this. And obviously you could do, instead of mobile device, you could do desktop as well, and so on and so forth. And the way to implement this so you can get this recording and the heat map for your website, there's also a lot of tutorials that we'll be able to share some links in terms of how to set it up for your own website. Okay, so by doing these 2 exercises, really you're getting so much already in terms of trying to understand your users, which is really the essence of working on a website optimization work, which means it's really enhancing your website to better serve your users. So hopefully they find more value in the website, that it's easy to use, that eventually they can convert, and you increase your conversion rate. And that's how, I guess at a very high level, that's most of the things that we do here at Relab. Okay, so hopefully that's of value to you, and as usual, if you haven't subscribed to us already, please do so and share this around. Thank you guys.